Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the FAS Evolution, the 15-minute raw take. This is Dan Gertrudes. The FAS Evolution is all about you, the bookkeeper, the fractional CFO, the CPA, and the accountant, where our team here at GrowthLab shares our experiences with you. I was fortunate enough for the month of July to spend 4 weeks in Portugal. I took 2 weeks off and worked 2 weeks. And, after 8 years, it was quite refreshing to be able to not just walk away, but be able to feel like you didn't have to be part of every single process, workflow, decision making, and it felt good. Now, obviously, we all come back, somewhat refreshed after reflecting on things. And, there's always opportunities for improvement. And I'm very excited because in 2022, we really doubled down on some of the more corporate functions that we probably needed because Stephen and I took on much of it. And having a full time HR person and someone to actually manage company operations, continuous improvement, someone to watch over our accounting division, our FP&A division, our tax division. It really has allowed Stephen and I to focus on things that really get us excited, such as business strategy, getting out there in front of our peers, our customers, the market. Today, I want to actually focus on expenses. It didn't take me long. I landed on Sunday, and by Wednesday, I started asking myself, I think it's time to start cutting some expenses. And you know something? It's those dreaded expenses that you sign up for here and there, and all of a sudden you've got 5 or 6 different corporate credit cards for all your team members. And what ultimately happens is we sign up for things, and those dreaded monthly recurring expenses, those ACH payments, the SaaS platforms. And so in June, we actually signed up with Divvy. And Divvy's been, I don't want to say a game changer, but Divvy's been great. Great flexibility, virtual cards, physical cards. You can set budgets. You can retract budgets on a monthly basis if a certain team member doesn't need access to as much credit. And it's a great way to save, it's safe, protects your finances. So, anyways, we also use this as an opportunity to cut costs. Now, what does Divvy have to do with cutting costs? Well, Divvy was kind of planned, right? It was a new credit card that we wanted to jump onto, employee expenses. And what that did was it gave us the opportunity to cut the cord on some of our corporate cards that we had with our current banking partner. Now, we're not turning our back on our current banking partner. We actually appreciate everything our bank has done for us over the last 8 years. However, we needed something a little bit more flexible and even more rigid around managing employee expenses. So that's why we went with Divvy. Anyways, this is not about Divvy per se, but this is about one strategy that can help you start reviewing and cutting expenses before everybody else is going to start this in 6 months. My recommendation is it's August, it's hot, it's humid, things are a bit softer. Folks are on vacation, and the conversions aren't moving as fast. And I've talked about sort of a softening up of the sales pipeline. This is a great opportunity in the middle of a hot summer to dive into your expenses, because something, come 6 months from now, everybody else is going to be doing this and you're going to be ahead of the game. So this is our journey, and this is how we did it. So we turned on Divvy. We gave everybody that had a corporate card, we gave them a Divvy card. And then we spent literally 48 hours going through our QuickBooks and our credit card statements, identifying vendors. And the goal here was there's no sacred cows. Everything is on the table. Because over the years, especially over the last 2 years, because we've been growing and we continue to experiment, that is part of our DNA. And part of experimenting is identifying new apps, new software, new this, new that. And then before you know it, you've amassed thousands and thousands of monthly recurring expenses across all of these apps. Now, we loved some of these apps, but we had to make tough decisions. We can't have three, four, five partners for one specific discrete challenge or opportunity. So let's take the planning side of our business. Yes, we use Giraffe, and we're very vocal about it. We believe Giraffe is a great planning tool, but we also use LiveFlow. But at the same time, we were using other applications. And so we decided literally this week that we had to start consolidating, and it was for the better of the business and the customers and our workflow. But it's not just like strategic apps. It was also experimental apps, especially now that we have our AppStream no-code division. And with that, we're going to test drive some apps, and some companies give us free access, but others require us to pay. And you know what happens? 3 months ago, you started with an app, you started paying, and you forgot to turn it off, and before you know it, 4 months later, you're still paying $50, $100 a month. And so even as there has been some employee turnover on the sales side in this company, we used to use platforms like LinkedIn Sales Navigator as part of our lead gen and the filling of the funnel, if you will. And what we found out was we were essentially being charged by LinkedIn over $1,000 a month. And guess what? Some of those memberships or subscriptions weren't even for current employees. I think one employee has not been here for like 7 months, and we were still paying for that Sales Navigator subscription. And it's not cheap stuff, right? It's still $110, $120 a month. And so all of this adds up. We actually believe that over a 48-hour period, what we did was we ended up cutting the cord with some of these subscriptions. We moved, and so we bifurcated the subscriptions into two buckets. One was employee team level responsibility. So if you were, say, in the marketing side of our business and you're using a system like Zencaster or Restream, that would ultimately stay with that team member. But then we're using systems like, say, Giraffe or Carbon or Ignition. That would actually go onto our corporate card. And we kept a corporate card with our bank and moved all of the employee expenses and team level expenses to the Divvy cards. That is allowing us to push accountability down to the functional leads, but yet at the corporate level, maintaining control of more strategic corporate level partners, like the ones I just mentioned. This was a great strategy. So first, you bucket the expenses. Secondly, now you start digging into these expenses and asking yourself, do we really need this? So another example was calendars, right? So there are these apps that allow for round robin, simultaneous scheduling. It allows for customers and leads and partners to be able to schedule time on your calendar via these apps. So here at GrowthLab, we used a couple. We have HubSpot. We talk a lot about HubSpot, but we also had Calendly, and we had tried another one. Anyways, long story short, we found a few team members using Calendly versus HubSpot, and there was justification for it. But when we really start digging into it, we have to ask ourselves, is $30, $50 a month really worth that let's say 30 seconds of convenience? Yes and no. But anyways, the rule of thumb is it's all on the table, cut the cord. And then if there's justification in 2 or 3 months and the finances are there to support it, then come back to the table. It's not like any company is ever going to cut their way to growth, right? So cutting expenses doesn't translate into growth. Cutting expenses is just a good way to be disciplined with your finances. This isn't for everybody, but I do recommend start now. Don't wait 6 months from now. Don't wait until things start to deteriorate or your sales start to soften up. you should always use this opportunity. I find August great time to do it. If you find you have some time, go for it, give it a try. It's actually quite refreshing, and it can save you money and increase your free cash flow. That's for sure. Anyways, that was this episode. Wanted to touch on expenses, the dreaded monthly recurring expenses. You got to stay on top of those. Thanks.